Welcome to Marketing Matters, a forum where we seek to elevate marketing for fresh food and floral. The truth is, marketing really does need to matter more if we're going to drive demand and ultimately contribute to the health of our society. Hello, I'm Danelle Mackey-Almy, President and CEO of DMA Solutions. Happy Tax Day, y'all. Well, maybe not for everyone. Anyway, thank you so much for joining in. We are so excited about today's topic. The DMA team, led by Audrey Miranda, our communications manager, who leads all things influencer at DMA, have put together an incredibly in-depth and useful deck that I will be walking us through today. Influencer marketing is not new, but still very misunderstood and underutilized, in my opinion, and quite frankly, our opinion. We'll be sharing proven strategies for elevating influencer marketing versus solely focusing on why influencer marketing is important. I suspect that if you're here today, you know that already. So a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. We will share this deck with you, so keep in mind if you're taking notes. Also, please tee your questions up in the chat or Q&A, and we will get to those as soon as I get through the deck, and we look forward to engaging and answering those questions with you. Also, we have 2 poll questions today that we'll be queuing up, and would really appreciate your feedback because that really does help us shape content. So with that, I'm going to turn off my video and jump into the deck and look forward to sharing this valuable information with you. Thanks again so much for attending. One more reminder before we dive in, I would be remiss not to mention 2 upcoming webinars we have in the works, and I think you're really going to find valuable. Next week, we will be sharing our next level tips for giving you your current social media performance a boost. Times are changing on social media, and as we all know, now it's tough to keep up with the trends, and our social media team have a pulse on all the things that you need to know, and they also will be providing some high level insights, not just the standard stuff that you see about social media. So again, with the amount of brands and touch points that we're able to experience each and every day with our book of clients, we're able to really have a wide swath when it comes to the experience that's needed for social media and really elevating those particular tactics. In May, which gosh, we'll be here before we know it, we'll address the challenges that come with getting national consumer media to take notice of your brand. We'll share our tips and strategies to working with national consumer media and how to set expectations around results and what consumer media landscape looks like today. So please don't forget to register. It's super easy on our website. Just go to dmasolutions.com/marketing-matters, or just look for the on the homepage in the top right corner. So it's super easy, and you need to register for each of those separately. Okay, so diving in, let's start off with some data. According to a recent Influencer Marketing Hub survey, 92% of respondents believe that influencer marketing is an effective form of marketing. What's interesting is that this is up 80% from the study in 2019. As marketers in fresh produce, we've seen major benefits of partnering with influencers and believe that there isn't any doubt around their effectiveness. So let's start with our first poll. Are you currently utilizing influencer partnerships? So an easy one there, just to give us a little bit of landscape. All right. So actually we have 57% of you are not currently working with influencers. So I think you're going to find the information in this deck extremely helpful. But if any point there are questions that you may have, because again, a lot of this information is what I would consider next level relative to working with influencers. And for those of you that are currently working, we certainly know that this information will be of value to you. So please, again, if you have questions or want me to clarify something or the team to clarify something during our discussion, please don't hesitate to note that. The aim of influencer marketing is to identify the influencers in your niche and make them work for you by promoting your brand. In our industry, influencer partnerships have often been a food blogger creating a one-time recipe to be shared on social media. During today's presentation, we're going to dig a little deeper and get creative on the ways that you can leverage influencer partners for maximum brand impact. There are numerous ways to collaborate with influencers, and today we're going to cover picking out-of-the-box partners, thinking beyond the Instagram grid, challenging traditional partnerships, being a brand advocate for your brand advocates, and reflecting your followers. So suggestion number one, pick out-of-the-box partners. And what we mean by this is pick your partners wisely, but don't play it too safe. In the fresh produce industry, the safe in-the-box option is a traditional recipe developer or food blogger, but the options and opportunities are numerous. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So just because we're focused on food and beverage in our industry, it doesn't mean our partners have to be celebrity food bloggers like Minimal Baker or the Pioneer Woman. There are other alternatives. For instance, micro influencers. What is a micro influencer? Well, it's in the name. Micro influencers have fewer than 100,000 followers, meaning they have more of a micro reach. However, this also means they're much more accessible than a large influencer, meaning you can get similar results to versus a much higher price tag influencer at a much lower price. Lifestyle influencers who dedicate themselves to posting a variety of content ranging from food to fashion to upcoming vacation plans. They are simply documenting their daily lives, be it a trip to Disney with their kids, a new diet they're trying out, or the challenges of juggling a busy professional life. Niche influencers. Large-scale lifestyle influencers cater to a variety of niches, which can make it a little more challenging to determine their audience's preferences. However, niche influencers focus on one topic or theme and create hyper-focused content that caters to a specific audience. For example, teacher influencers create content that is of interest to teachers and some parents, and we'll show you an example of that in a moment. So let's explore each of these a little bit more. So why micro influencers? We understand how alluring the idea of big influencers can be, and we get it, but large following isn't everything. Once an account is over a certain size, fewer people bother to engage with their content. The ratio of engagements to followers peak when an account is around 1,000 followers. The closer an account gets to 100,000 followers, engagements begin to flatten. While it may be entertaining to follow celebrities, followers are much more likely to interact with someone they can relate to. Enter micro-influencers. Micro-influencers are the answer to finding a partner with high engagement and fan loyalty. Micro-influencers have 60% higher engagement than larger influencers and are 6.7 times more cost effective. And we can certainly attest to both of those statistics. All this to say, there's a variety of reasons why to work with micro influencers, and we've summed up a few reasons here. And as you can see and probably be able to relate by your own experience or what I've just shared with you, micro influencers can tend to be more trusted. They are probably posting more often. They have higher degrees of credibility and confidence with their friends and followers. They can be extremely brand relevant, especially when you're looking at a longer term partnership, which we'll touch on in a minute. But the high connection with the brand and finding different ways to incorporate your brand into their niche is where the strength is here. They're also can be very loyal and will often advocate even outside of the partnership arrangement. And they certainly have influence, and they're able to drive friends and followers to take a desired action more consistently than other types of influencers. So next up is lifestyle influencers, and they feature a variety of topics from mom hacks to fashion inspiration. They also typically feature their faces in their content, whereas traditional food bloggers are rarely present in their own content. Lifestyle influencers are great for product promotion, like product placement, and to help you generate user-generated content featuring their personalities. Traditional recipe development or food blogger content can sometimes feel a little sterile and without personality, but lifestyle influencers can bring a face and personality to their messages. Additionally, since the ask of these influencers isn't to create a recipe, pricing is often more reasonable. Content creation for a product placement post is less laborious and takes less specialized skill set, resulting in less work at a lower price tag. So, partnering with lifestyle influencers can be a cost effective way to generate really meaningful and relative content. Plus, packaging often appears more organically in these posts as opposed to recipe posts. So, I'm sure you've seen this in your feeds, that this is certainly the case. When lifestyle is in the forefront, there's a lot more opportunities for the total package of your produce or different ways to present them that sometimes recipe posts can be limited by. Another outside of the box option is to partner with niche influencers. After all, laser focused marketing is the best kind of marketing. Think of a niche influencer strategy as your email targeted list based on preferences. By selecting a niche influencer who aligns with your brand, you're getting closer to guaranteeing that their followers will like what your brand has to provide. So, here are just a few niche influencers for you to consider that we have found great success with in the last 2 years. So, grandfluencers have had a problem pronouncing that. Instagram isn't just for the young anymore. Niche influencers in their golden years, also known as grandfluencers, have been breaking the mold. Instead of the stereotypical 20-something influencers living in the high life on Instagram, they're retirees, often sharing their fashion, lifestyle, and food photos with a growing population of Gen Xer and Boomer Instagram accounts. For example, Natural Delights recently partnered with a style of a certain age influencer to promote their chocolate covered dates to her boomer audience. And we saw incredible results. This generated over 145 million impressions. When this influencer shared a link on their Amazon page, they sold out of the product the same day. And we'll touch on that more in just a moment. Retail focused niche influencers. Some retailers have die-hard fans and followers. For example, the obvious, Trader Joe's, and even Target, Costco, and IKEA, and have many of these influencers ready to share their favorite food or find in their stores. These retail-focused Instagram accounts typically devote their entire feed to one store or brand and share from inside the store, as well as picturing their latest hauls of the brand's product. For brands that are sold at these brick and mortar retailers, retail focused Instagram accounts can help you get your products in front of the right customers. And again, a great example of this is at Trader Joe's Kitchen on Instagram. So take a peek at that, and when you have a second, if you're looking for some reference. Another great one is teacher influencers, and they are pulling back the curtain on their classrooms to share color-coded bookshelves and the infinite amounts of printable worksheets. These niche influencers are followed by their fellow teachers, homeschool moms, and those interested in the behind-the-scenes look at school. Good Foods recently partnered with Teach, Create, Motivate Instagram account to promote their Back to the Book sweepstakes this past fall and saw over 1 million impressions at a cost per impression of less than a penny. Additionally, this promotion generated 44 influencer placements. And this last one must be one of my favorites, I can tell you. I know a lot of you here on the webinar, but dogfluencers. Everyone seems to have an Instagram for their pets these days. But even if you don't, following a pet personality on Instagram is definitely a growing trend. Due to Farm Fresh Foods recently partnered with dogfluencers, including Nixon the Corgi, look how cute he is up there, to promote a celery snack for pups. They also partnered with a vet influencer, so a veterinarian, who was also able to craft and share messaging about celery as a pet treat. This resulted in 18.7 million impressions and 55 influencer placements. And I think you can see why with just the overload of cuteness in that post. So with that, let's tee up our second poll question. And that being, have you considered working with niche influencers? Okay. So By and large, we are looking at an 80%. So a lot of interest around niche influencers. So I definitely hope the information that we've are sharing here today is helpful because again, as we stated, there's just a lot of different ways to explore this particular strategy when it comes to influencers. And again, in our opinion, as it relates to food, we think this is extremely underutilized. So it's definitely an area where we have great potential as fresh food and floral suppliers is to really explore the vast landscape of niche influencers. Okay. So moving on to suggestion 2. Influencer content can be more than just a static Instagram image. With all the new types of content options that are out there, consider the outcome you desire when communicating your influencer content specifications. So again, we call this thinking beyond the Instagram grid. So when we're thinking through desired outcomes, the social media platforms that the influencer relies on will play a heavy role. According to this study by Influencer Marketing Hub, Instagram ranks number 1 for the most important and impactful channel. 68% of survey respondents consider Instagram the most important for their campaigns, followed by 45% claiming that TikTok was important. This is very interesting because this is up completely 100% because in 2020, TikTok did not make this survey or this particular study. So it's just amazing how TikTok has come onto the scene, and we'll dive into it just a little bit later, but it's definitely a growing trend among influencers. So while Instagram definitely ranks atop, TikTok has now moved into second place. Something you may notice is that Pinterest is missing from this slide because this data is based on all industries. So for fresh produce, we believe that Pinterest is a crucial platform to leverage since we often generate recipe content, which aligns with what Pinterest users are searching for. In fact, 90% of Pinterest users utilize the platform for making purchasing decisions, and 77% of Pinterest users have discovered a new brand or product on the platform. This means that Pinterest audiences are on the lookout for new brands and ideas. For us, here at DMA, the hierarchy by which we judge our influencers based on platform is Instagram and then Pinterest. So a little bit different than, based on all industries. And so while Instagram is the top sought after platform, it's also where you're going to see your most expensive cost per impression or engagement. Generally, influencer marketing is less common on Facebook and Twitter, but hey, if the influencer you're working with have a thriving Facebook or Twitter presence, then that's just an extra bonus. Something to note if you're seeing TikTok on the list and curious as to help tap into this new platform, influencers are the perfect way to do this. There's a great opportunity right now to partner with an influencer on TikTok to create a presence for your brand on the platform without having to start at ground zero. Not only will they create valuable videos, that they also already have an audience that's interested in food and recipes. So if you don't have the time or budget to start from scratch on TikTok for your brand, we certainly recommend influencers the perfect opportunity to enter into that platform. So to get maximum impact for your brand, it may be time to rethink your content and go beyond the grid, as this section and recommendation is called. So consider finding an influencer who excels on out of the box platform like a Pinterest or a TikTok. So while still utilize their Instagram platform, we can find a partner who also specializes on TikTok or Instagram Reels, for instance. Could be a real benefit for your brand. We recently partnered with an influencer who has noticed their Instagram Reels had been performing well. So to grow her own platform, she began including Instagram Reels for free of charge beyond our standard Instagram posts as part of our agreement. So she saw the opportunity on Reels, and versus charging that without a lot of experience, she came to us and said, hey, I want to throw this in free of charge as an added bonus to strengthen our partnership and to get more exposure for your brand. So certainly really appreciate that. But you're starting to see influencers who may have really found their niche early on Instagram or one of the other platforms are starting to see opportunities on Instagram Reels and TikTok. So it's just basically maybe it's not a reshare of that information, but it's certainly a repurposing of a way to say the same thing on a different platform on behalf of your brand. So we find it to be an extreme bonus. There's also many different types of content to leverage other than a static post. Videos, carousel posts, stories, reels, you name it. In reviewing what performs well for our clients' social channels, we know that these content types are great to encourage influencers to create on your behalf. Another option is to utilize the influencer on your own platform instead of theirs. Also, another option is including whitelisting in your influencer agreements to give your brand access to run ads on their behalf. Now, I will tell you, as I was preparing for this webinar and reading, learning more about this, some of this stuff may be a little bit foreign. So, if there are questions or any discussion you'd like for us to go deeper, after the presentation, please let us know and we can explain more of this. Any of this for you. All right, suggestion number 3. So traditionally, the ask to influencers has been, can you create a recipe and then share it on your blog, social media channels? That's been the general lane that we've all been in relative to working with influencers. And there are significantly more ways to partner with influencers than how we've been doing it. So let's dive into that. Now it's time, in essence, it's time to be creative. Influencer partnerships don't have to be, as I said, just the one recipe plus the accompanying post plus share on social media, and then we're all done. There are additional creative ways to partner with influencers, long-term partnerships, Instagram giveaways, influencer mailers, and promoting e-commerce where to buy. So let's give you some examples of these creative ways that we have found extreme success with partnering with influencers. So if we're looking for consistent engagement for your brand's influencer marketing investment, long-term relationships are, as I said, an excellent choice. A long-term partnership allows influencers to create continuous content for the brand. Influencers' constant promotion of the brand can build stronger brand recognition and exposure to their audiences that can lead to purchases. A brand becomes more credible when viewers see it often as part of the influencer's daily life. So lengthy partnership versus the one-off post yield better results for the brand over time. And I know, again, traditionally what we've seen is a 1 or maybe 2 or 3 posts per year, for instance. And what influencers are looking for is definitely a longer term relationship with the brands. And what we know to be true based on our experience is it definitely benefits the brand more, because not only is the influencer, encouraged by the lengthy partnership and the show of faith on behalf of the brand, they find ways outside of the agreements often to elevate your products into their everyday life or to their other content, for instance. So again, we highly recommend and we definitely suggest that the day has come for the longer term partnerships as when working with influencers. Instagram giveaways are one of the easiest way to capture leads for your brand. 91% of Instagram posts with over 1,000 comments are contests, according to Tailwind. On average, you could see 79% increase in your giveaways performance if you utilize partners. Typically, this looks like the influencer partner posting a picture related to the giveaway and giving the users the opportunity to enter and win by liking the post and following the influencer and the brand. If you make the giveaway easy to enter, you'll be able to grow your following, your email list, or even both. Recently, Good Foods partnered with 2 influencers to host Instagram giveaways. The partnerships resulted in a combined total of 2,500 new Instagram followers and 23,000 social media engagements. Again, 2 influencers to host Instagram giveaways resulted in 2,500 new Instagram followers. And then, of course, the 23,000 social media engagements. So we are just not seeing results like this from the traditional options that we've had. So this is, in our opinion, a significant way to not only benefit your brand on the typical results that we're looking for, but specifically if you're looking to grow your social media following. This is a unique way to do it outside of advertising and some of the other strategies that we've been relegated to thus far. Influencer mailers. So if you're not ready for the long-term influencer partnership, or if you're really looking to find some new partners out there, a great alternative is the influencer mailer, which consists of your brand's product along with fun, unique, and branded items. So no contracts or agreements needed for this. This type of strategy is meant for getting your products into the influencers' hands and homes. If your brand is looking to reach broader audiences on Instagram and increase brand awareness through authentic product placement, this is the perfect option. We live in a world where everyone is unboxing their packages on social media. So while this strategy really plays into that, influencers, what they do is they not only share what they've received from the brand, but also authentically showcase the products in their content on Instagram. The catch here is making your box something they would want to unbox on Instagram, meaning the swag you put in the box needs to impress. So the classic trade show items that we all are accustomed to, stress balls and pins and hand sanitizers, just won't cut it for a lifestyle influencers. So think of products that really highlight your brand and that the influencer would want to showcase, that really elevates their personal brand or their social media brand. So when seeing we've seen great success with any personalized item. I mean, think about it. Who doesn't love to receive a present in the mail with your name on it? So again, personalized. And by that, we don't mean your logo. We mean literally the influencer's name or initials. This is a great way to test various influencers to see if you'd like to work with them long-term. So if you love the way they communicated and showcased your product without any encouragement other than some cool swag from you, then this is definitely, provides you with a lead for a long-term partner. So again, finding extreme success, and I'll tell you, we're just having so much fun doing this, and the genuine appreciation from the influencers that the brands we're working with receive has just been, I mean, it's really made a difference in the way that we're able to really strengthen the partnerships with influencers and also expand the net and the options of influencers that we've been able to attract in the last, I would say, last 18 months to 2 years. So definitely something to keep on your radar. Promote e-commerce and where to buy. So if you have an e-commerce page on your website, or your product is featured on one, leveraging influencer partners is a great way to get the news out and drive sales. Most influencers can create a swipe feature on their Instagram stories that will drive users directly to the page. Like we mentioned before, Natural Delight's grand influencer, showcased here, posted a recipe with links to Natural Delight's products on Amazon, and the team has pointed that out here. As a result, the product sold out the same day. So, and there's a lot of reasonings why that might be, but we definitely found great success with this. And she certainly did a wonderful job linking back to the e-commerce page here. So she's been an absolute delight to work with. So this brings us to our fourth suggestion, which is to be a brand advocate to your brand advocates and or influencers. And quite honestly, we see a lot of we see a lot of opportunity here relative to strengthening influencer partnerships. I mean, some folks, even though a lot of you had answered yes, that you do work with influencers currently, a lot of times we find people that are working with influencers aren't necessarily getting the results they want, or they're not certain if the results are good or marginal. So we, in this particular section, we can tell you that the success starts with you. And what may seem obvious to you about your brand or products may not be obvious to them. So getting them set up for success is key. So clearly outline expectations in your agreement. For instance, how soon do you want to approve the post before it goes live? How do you expect to deliver payment, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are important to lay up at front so that the influencer, we're taking the guesswork out of it for both you and the influencer. Prepare them with a playbook full of helpful insights, which we'll show you an example of in a few slides. Are there any words you want highlighted or avoided in the post? Hashtags, for instance. Do you have helpful insights on the company that would be beneficial for them to know? Lastly, be available. If it's a shoot day and they have a quick question, be available so they feel supported in the process. So again, in our work with brands, we're definitely available to the influencer on the days that they're shooting to answer any questions, and often not, they're definitely reaching out. So key aspects of the ingredients, and the team provided you with a lot of details here, but building out the agreement can be very daunting, especially if you haven't built one out and you're not exactly sure of what needs to be included in it. You may want to make sure you include any options or information, and because what we're trying to do is avoid any loopholes, and hopefully none of the influencers that align with your values would try to take advantage, but it's always a good idea to play it on the safe side and just get the details laid out so that everyone's on the same page. At DMA, we always sign our influencer contracts between DMA and the influencer, so we're accountable for making sure all these aspects in the agreement are met, not our clients. So again, the key aspects of your agreement you can see here on specific deliverables, which I've already mentioned a few, and content rights are another key area. Do you have the rights to share their information? This is often a place where things can get sticky between you and your influencer partner. So making sure that you understand that on your end if you intend on resharing. And then obviously price and payment terms. And that tends to be the typical thing that we find in an agreement, pricing and payment terms, but I'll assure you these specific deliverables and the scope of what you're expecting from this influencer. You know what also it helps you do when you line these things out? It's very easy for you to measure when they go above and beyond what you've asked them to do. And we find that more than not. So again, getting your agreement set up is a key important aspect of the process that leads you to success. Influencer playbooks, and this might be new to some of you, but the reasoning behind the success of influencer playbooks in our experience is that messaging is crucial to getting the content and the outcome you desire from your influencer partners. We develop these playbooks that outline brand messaging, photography style examples, and expectations of the influencers when they're sharing on behalf of your brand. Influencer marketing it's relationship building, and it takes time to build that relationship. So when we're giving them clear direction and understanding up front, that definitely sets us up for greater success in fostering the relationship with the influencer, so that we're not disappointed once something has been posted or been created and we're like, oh, well, we just assumed you knew this about our brand. They may not know those details. So this is a very critical and crucial aspect for influencer marketing. So this leads us to our suggestion to you. The last one is to reflect your followers. And let me tell you what we mean by this is at DMA, we work with our brands to find partners who reflect their consumer base. Their audiences are what we're looking for when it comes to influencer partners. And this includes racial diversity down to gender and religious belief. As we work to become a more inclusive society and reflect that in brand positioning and messaging, aligning and supporting diverse partners is a huge step toward progress. And so this needs to be, considered, and it should be something that we're excited about, because the reality is that all types of human beings eat. And so if we truly do want to, relate to people and meet them where we are, I mean, we know as marketers that meeting people where they are is one of the first step in creating brand trust. And it's certainly, trusting the trust is what will lead to continuous purchases, hopefully, and obviously taste and all the other things we have to deliver. But to meet people where they are, we need to showcase our products, and we need our brand to really speak to the current audience or even the audience that we're looking to grow with. And we're looking to become more trusted within. And you can see here at Forbes, I think this is a great quote. Forbes tells us that diversity incorporates all the elements that make individuals unique from one another. including but not limited to sexual orientation, ethnicity, skin color, gender, body type, socioeconomic status, physical abilities, and religious beliefs, and more. Diversity is the range of human differences. And so I really, we have found great success, and, it is definitely something that you want to proceed with great care, to make sure that you're not showing up in a performative way, that you're truly being authentic. And so influencers can really help shape that, especially those where you're investing in a long-term partnership with. Influencers can help us reach these diverse niche audiences and beliefs and differences. And I believe that that this is going to be the future of how we're going to elevate demand and consumption for the food that we grow and the flowers. So please keep that in mind. And it's a suggestion that we're happy to talk more on. So to recap, there are many ways to collaborate with influencers to maximize brand impact. And certainly this deck is chock full of those examples. If you're looking for more ideas and want to get started, we certainly hope you contact us. We'd be happy to work with you on a plan for influencer marketing. So to recap here, our suggestions based on this information is to pick outside of the box partners. Think beyond that Instagram grid, even though Instagram is still our primary platform for influencer engagement. Challenge the traditional partnerships. Be a brand advocate for your brand advocates or influencers. Set them up for success with as much information and clarity as you can, and certainly reflect your followers. Look for the difference that your audience brings and speak to that. So as the poll question indicated, many of you are already working with influencers, and we have created a complete suite of affordable services to support your efforts. And for those of you who are not yet working on influencers, this is a great way to get started. So these are affordable, like I said, services that you can customize based on your particular need. And we are excited to offer our attendees today a 10% discount off of these influencer management services. So if you're interested in maybe talking about it first, no strings attached. We're offering our time to hear your challenges and offer solutions that work for you. So if you're interested, simply reach out to us at info@dmasolutions.com or on our social channels. You can DM us. Most of you probably already have our emails. So if you're interested, we'll get a call on booked so that we can hear more of what you would like to elevate or get started with on behalf of your brand. So last and certainly not least, if you are looking to keep a regular pulse on hot marketing topics and tactics, definitely visit the core blog, where we are literally giving away what we're learning, what we're doing, and what we know every week for free. So please, we invite you to subscribe to our blog. Okay, if I could invite Audrey, Megan, and the team, if you will join me for discussion and Q&A. If you haven't already, please list your questions and comments or thoughts in the chat. And those buttons should be listed around the footer of your screen. So with that, I'm going to join the awesome DMA team. And ladies, what questions or comments have our guests would like for us to address?
We did have a question that came through. Oh, hello, can you guys hear us? Okay, sorry. We just blacked out for a minute.
Sorry, I turned off the share screen so that we wouldn't be looking at a slide and we can, our attendees can see our faces.
Got it. Okay, so we did have a question during the presentation about what is a whitelist. Was that a public?
Double check.
That's a good thing to ask because I don't think that everybody knows what whitelisting means.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you asked that, because guess who else asked that? So yeah. Audrey, tell us more.
Of course. So whitelisting is having the permission to boost influencer content when you share it on your brand's feed. So oftentimes we'll get content that's created and our brands have the rights to reshare that content, but they don't always have the rights to add advertising spend behind it. So whitelisting is using an influencer's visuals or someone else's for your brand's advertising.
Okay.
Okay.
Good question.
All right, a couple other questions coming through.
Great.
So this is a really good one to kick us off with from someone who's just looking to get started. They haven't worked with influencers a whole lot yet. So how should I get started?
Are you going to take that?
So we recommend starting with your goals in mind. For the majority of our clients, recipe development or content creation is goal number one. So looking for influencers that align with your brand's aesthetic. And then second to that is brand awareness. So if you're looking for big brand awareness, then the larger the following, the better. And Pinterest is a great way to get that. You can get influencers that have large reach on Pinterest that have a lower cost per impression. So we start with goals in mind first.
And of the micro influencers that, well, obviously we talked about micro, we talked about niche, and I just forgot the third one. Lifestyle. Gosh, I knew it. It was right on the tip of my tongue. Thank you. Of the three that we talked about, is there one that we recommend that brands start with just right out of the gate?
Any?
Yeah.
Okay. In New York. Okay.
Nope. If you want, we do recommend a trial post first. We talked about long-term partnerships, but sometimes if you're a little bit iffy on how to get started, pick one and do a trial run. Sometimes they'll even have a discount rate for your first time post.
Okay.
The way to build a relationship with the brand.
Okay. And so would you recommend that brands start off with, I mean, obviously we're big fans of long-term partnerships. And when we say long-term, is that generally a year or a season for a product? You know, you may not want to do a year if your product is only available 6 months out of the year. So it's through your season or?
Yeah, we typically, most of our partnerships are a year long, so 12 months. We do have a few of our clients that are more seasonal clients. And so
Okay.
a 3-month partnership.
Okay. And so would you recommend for folks that are just getting started that you start with a few and then start to entertain the long-term partnerships? Or I guess through great vetting, you know, you could probably go ahead and establish that longer term partnership, which we know is going to net the best results. So I don't even think I know that's the way we have historically done it, but I don't think that sounds like that's the case. What we would recommend anymore.
So since we have vetted and worked with quite a few influencers, when clients come to us, we're able to direct them in the direction of long-term partnerships because we vetted and worked with most of the influencers. But if you're doing it for the first time by yourself, then a one-off post, but talk about terms for a long-term agreement on the front end so that you know that information and you've got that back of mind when you're reviewing your post. But starting with the trial post is great. Or if you're feeling lucky, jump into the long-term agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're
good.
That's right.
And I think that's an important thing I want to elevate and definitely provide kudos to Audrey and the team that's working on, you know, our influencer marketing. Is how many influencers are we vetting and working with in a given year?
I think it's up. This last year was over 200.
Over 200. And when I say vet, I mean, we are very, very particular on behalf of fresh produce brands. There's a lot of influencers, and it's not that they're necessarily not effective or like bad. I don't want to use that word, but the reality is that if we're going to present fresh food in a way, they're depending on their content and depending on what else they're talking about. We certainly need to be conscious of that. And certainly as we are looking to diversify who we're working with, the vetting process is not only critical, it takes a long time. And I know firsthand watching what Audrey and the team will do to get ready, you know, to present a particular influencer to our brands. There is a lot of exchanging, a lot of investigating that's been going on. We've been following them for an extensive amount of time, engaging with them, seeing how they respond to comments. I mean, the list is extremely long. And so that's an important part. So if you're looking to get started and you're feeling overwhelmed, that's definitely an area where we can provide some immediate help to you. So please reach out and let us know if that's something that's holding you back. I think we can really provide you with some insights and certainly some affordable services to help you get started there.
Yeah, for sure. And it should be validating for you to know that if your reason for not working, because I know several people answered that question, great question, that they're just not doing it. If it's because you realize how the monumental amount of work and effort that it's going to take, if that's your barrier, for sure, let's talk about it. Let me validate you. Yes. I mean, we used to say this 2 or 3 years ago. It's like herding cats when you start working with a lot of different influencers, because all are different. Everybody's got a different perspective of what works for their audiences, and as it should be, because we're dealing with different people with different, people that follow them that have different points of view. So the one thing that's consistent is that we're trying to elevate demand of fresh produce. And so we can stay true to that. We can stay true to knowing that we don't want to necessarily work with an influencer who's going to promote eggplant on one post and then the next post Marlboro cigarettes. Like, that doesn't work. Things don't go together. So realize that, feel validated in that it is not an easy feat to win at influencer marketing, but work with someone, align yourself with someone who does have the experience to help you navigate that.
Yeah. Good points.
All right, so let's talk about budget and pricing a little
hear
bit,
you.
because we have, y'all
Can
hear
anyone
me?
else hear Mac?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Could everyone hear me? Okay, so let's talk about budget and pricing for a little bit, because that's something we get a lot of questions about, and we do have a few questions coming in about that. So first of all, when you first start working with influencers, if the price is fair? And then we've also got a few questions along those same lines. What should I budget? And then a question that we see come up often is, can I compensate influencers with free product?
Gotcha.
I want to talk through all of that.
Yeah. So we'll start with free product first. So it used to be that was a great way to guarantee a post. We don't think of product gifting as true payment. It's just a gift. And so influencers, when reaching out, when we're sending these product mailers, they'll ask if it's gifting or if it's a required post. And so it's their business too. They're trying to make an income just as we all are. And so and it's time consuming. So product for placement is not as common anymore. There are some smaller influencers that will accept that, but if you're talking about influencers with more than 5,000 followers, they're going to expect payment. And pricing depends on your ask. So if you're asking for a product placement post where they're not creating a recipe, then you can expect to pay, if they have about 20,000 followers, about $1,000 for a post is standard, and then fewer followers can be less expensive and more followers can be more. If you're looking for true recipe development, the majority, regardless of follower count, so anyone with over 5,000 followers is going to charge a minimum of $700 for a recipe post, up to $6,000. So the range just depends on their reach, and follower count that we're referring to right now is on Instagram. It's typically how they will price out. But if you're wanting an influencer to share just in stories, then it could be less expensive than an in-feed post. But that's kind of the range on pricing is all over the board.
Has anybody still on in the audience, if you guys have any questions about the vetting process or just any reason really why you're not getting started, or what a helpful first step might be for you in your mind, what are the bigger barriers that you're facing? Is it budget? Is it you don't know how to do it? If you'll just type your answer or your comments in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, and I can speak to vetting on the front end. So when a new client comes to us and they say that they're looking for influencer partners, we will talk about their aesthetic and then their messaging and what are some other brands that they closely align with. So if your brand closely aligns with Crate and Barrel, maybe we'll go look to see which aspiring influencers are tagging Crate and Barrel, and reach out that way. If you're wanting someone that's already a partner with Kroger or with Walmart, we can do that, so that you're sharing that message with followers that are also interested in that brand. So looking to other brands as direction for who your influencer partners could be is great. Looking up relevant hashtags, and then look to see who's already tagging you in their content. Aspiring influencers, so smaller micro influencers, are likely already seeking your brand out, and wanting that partnership, and it shows that they're already interested in your brand. So they're already a loyal fan and follower.
So here's a comment from Ray. So the hardest part is selling, and yeah, to leadership. I mean, that's a big issue. So, I would say back to that, you really do have to kind of take inventory of how well you're doing across other marketing channels. Is influencer going to be my first? Probably not if you don't have leadership buy-in from digital marketing potentially, or some of the more common types of marketing. If they already do have buy-in, if you have buy-in on that, then you're showing them how these practices, these marketing practices, ultimately end up in higher brand visibility, which should ultimately end up in bigger, higher demand for your products. And so influencer marketing then is a nice way to expand what you're already doing on social media, really, and amplify that demand driving impressions out there in the right spaces, because the people who like these influencers are the kinds of people that are going to seek out your product in stores and ask for it by name in the produce department. So, I mean, and I think there was a statistic for those of you that went to Southern Exposure last week. It was something crazy, high number of people. Still, the number one source of motivation for them is friends and family. And influencers fall into that group of friends and family. People view influencers as a friend, a trusted resource. That's up here. Social media is right underneath that. So I know it's above 37% because I remember that social media was 37% of the total there. But so you just use those types of nuggets, if not for anything else, build on what you're already doing. Use influencer marketing as a way to either amplify or get started. It's going to be one or the other. And understand the statistics so that you can put that in front of leadership to help convince them about all your marketing work, not just influencer, but like why we're doing this. We're doing this because it's all about driving demand for this product.
Yeah, great points. And I think that Lori Taylor, the produce mom who's on here, left a great comment in either the chat or the Q&A. And speaking of trusted influencer for fresh produce, I mean, Lori is certainly one of our top choices, but she is sharing here with us that iHeartRadio has a new podcast called, I'm looking over here at the chat, Under the Influence is a great episode on the injustice with expecting content in exchange for products. So swag plus examples don't pay the bills. And she's right. And so, glad to see DMA. Well, thank you. We want to be respectful of the multi-billion-dollar industry of influencers by encouraging, our clients to do that. And so compensation, it is still creeping into the conversation, is that we're still having to explain to a lot of brands that come to us that yes, influencers are not, they are a media outlet, and it doesn't matter that they're micro or niche or, a mom at home or, a grandfluencer or even a dog. I mean, at the end of the day, they're there to, yes, share information that's meaningful to them and to their audiences, and they should get compensated for that. And I can tell you what, working with an influencer is a hell of a lot cheaper than paying for a full page ad in the traditional food magazines that we were all reading 20 years ago. So not to say that there's not some great ones left, but when I think about the working with the right influencers and the mileage that your brand can get, it's hands down a preferred way to elevate your brand on a number of fronts. And the good news is, and here's what I enjoyed so much about, I mean, I knew a lot of this stuff that we were doing, but to see it put together like this in the way that the team did, is that when I really think about it, it is the gateway for us to, on an expanded way, to really a meaningful way to increased demand. And I think we've been talking about influencer. It's been on the docket for every marketing conference or event for numerous of years. And I think we've kind of relegated that information. And so, Lori, this is something we'd love to explore more with you and get your thoughts on. And Alex, I see that you're on here. Is that we tend to just talk about why it's important and not really expand it. We kind of stay in this influencer 1.0 mode. And I think it's really time that we start to elevate the breadth of influencer marketing. Like I said at the beginning, I think it's completely underrated. And I think we've gotten caught up in that first generation of influencers, and maybe a lot of brands, and I know fellow marketers of ours got a bad taste in their mouth. And so I think we've kind of pushed that aside as a frivolous thing to invest in. And as an industry, we also took that approach with social media 7 years ago. And I think we all know we're still recovering from being behind the 8 ball on that decision. So I hope for influencer marketing, we can all work together to really elevate what it can be and what it has become, and work on sharing that reality with our industry so that hopefully we can continue to get more traction with this increasingly important marketing tool. So. Mac, we have any more questions?
Right. We did have a question regarding asking to use photos or permission to use photos. And I know Audrey touched on that a little bit. If you could just reiterate, what's the appropriate time or way to ask about that? And then the question adds, about pushing an image as an ad.
Yeah.
So if you could touch on that before we wrap up.
In our agreements, we cover rights of use. And so that's everything from just being able to share digitally. Sometimes we can only share the recipe link. Sometimes we have permission to share and upload the recipe to the brand's website. But you talk about usage rights in the agreement before you draft your agreement and then get that in writing. So whatever your ask is, whatever your need is what you will ask, and then go back and forth on what they're willing to allow. That'll also impact your pricing. So if you're just wanting them to create content that they share on their feed, then that's one price tag. But in order to share it on your brand's account, sometimes that costs more. And then your question about boosting and using that content as an ad, you'll also cover that in your initial conversations before the agreement is written. So once the content is created, you're able to share it. And then some influencers have different terms on what boosting looks like. Sometimes they'll ask that since most of our brands aren't e-commerce, this isn't as applicable, but sometimes they'll require a percentage of sales that are driven. So that's a little bit more of an affiliate marketing component, but you'll discuss that with them on their whitelisting rights. And the majority of the influencers that we work with are flexible and don't have special terms for whitelisting, but some of the larger ones do. So it's an emerging topic that has come to our attention in the last year that we're all still navigating.
Sounds like we have some future core content coming up on some questions. So good. All right. Well, I think we're right at 2:00. Again, thanks to all the attendees who joined us today. We'll be sharing this deck with you also. And again, coming up real quick next week, we're going to be really diving into some high level social media tactics for you. So please head to our website and sign up for that. And we look forward to talking with you soon. And everyone have a great rest of the week. Thank you.